Cognitive development of the preschoolers. This module contains are preschooler symbolic and intuitive thinking, brain connections in the preschool years, language development, language and social interaction, information processing theory, attention and memory, the young children's theory of mind, receptive language, domain, cognitive development, memory, and lastly, the role of caregivers, parents, and teacher in the cognitive development of preschoolers. Let's talk about preschooler symbolic and intuitive thinking. There are two substages of Piaget's pre-operational thought, namely symbolic substage and intuitive substage. In the symbolic stage, preschool children show progress in their cognitive abilities by being able to draw objects that are not present by their dramatic increase in their language and make behave play. In the intuitive substage, preschool children begin to use primitive reasoning and ask a lot of questions. Preschool children who use animism fail to distinguish the appropriate occasions for using human and non-human perspectives. However, the fact that they attribute the falling of the leaf and the thunder to a cause proves that preschool children realize that events have causes, although the perceived causes are not correct. It is another limitation in preschool children's symbolic thought. Piaget calls this egocentrism, the inability to distinguish between one's own perspective and someone else's perspective. The children thinks that his father can see him just as he can see himself. Preschool children exhibit a limitation in their intuitive thinking, where they focus solely on the height of liquid in a beaker and disregard its width. This tendency to center their attention on the characteristic, ignoring others, is known as centration, or an in-dimensional thought. This behavior illustrates their lack of conservation, the understanding that an object or substance fundamental properties remain the same even when its appearance changes. Preschool children frequently ask numerous questions, reflecting their growing curiosity and desire to understand the reason behind things. This questioning behavior is driven by their insatiable curiosity, which is complemented by a significant improvement in their language skills. Preschool children often focus on eye-catching aspects of a task, like a colorful ribbon on a wrapped gift, instead of more important elements needed for problem solving. This tendency to be drawn to conspicuous features can lead them to make choices based on superficial characteristics rather than considering the task's essential aspects. It discusses the concept of irreversibility in Piaget's theory, where children at the pre-operational stage fail to understand that an operation can have multiple directions. It mentions that a child cannot yet grasp the idea of reversing actions or wording backwards to restore the original state of something, like pouring juice back into its original container. This limitation hinders their ability to realize that the amount of liquid in both glasses must be the same. It illustrates that preschool children do not employ deductive or inductive reasoning. Instead, they tend to make connections between specific instances without a logical basis, attributing causes where there may be none. This type of reasoning is referred to as transductive reasoning. Brain connections in the preschool years. The field of early childhood education is increasingly influenced by neuroscience, which sheds light on how young children's brains develop. The brain consists of neurons that form connections known as synapses. Notably, the human brain begins with about 50 billion neurons at birth, and by age 2, children have already established half of the brain's lifetime connections. Additionally, around age of 6, the brain undergoes further development, facilitating more advanced thinking pattern. Brain connection in the preschool years. Preschoolers have immense brain potential, with billions of neurons capable of forming countless connections, enabling them to learn language, develop logical, mathematical skills, and grow emotionally and creatively. The environment plays a crucial role in shaping these connections, as brain research highlights the impacts of environment stimulation on brain development. a supportive and stimulating environment that engages multiple senses and encourages thinking, imagination, and creativity is essential during the preschool years. Both a nurturing family environment and a quality preschool program can provide these stressful and chaotic environments marked by trauma can have dimensional effect on preschool's cognitive development, leading to diminished brain growth and potential long-term issues. It's not only extreme negative environment but also environments lacking stimulating experiences that can harm preschoolers' development. Preschool teachers play a vital role in creating a quality environment that fosters optimal brain development in young children. Language development. During early childhood, children's understanding of language outpaces their ability to express themselves verbally. As they progress through this stage, the comprehensions of language rules, including morphology, semantics, and pragmatics, becomes more advanced. Children quickly learn that sounds form words which represent ideas, people, and objects in preschool years. Their language development becomes more complex, encompassing phonology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. Preschoolers rapidly expand their vocabulary through a process called fast mapping, where they grasp the meaning of new words after hearing them once or twice. They start combining syllables into words and words into the sentences in increasingly sophisticated ways. It's common for them to make language error like saying good instead of went or foot instead of feet, which are not considered mistakes from their perspective. Monitoring a children's language development in areas like phonology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics can help identify challenges. Children with speech difficulties can benefit from the assistance of speech pathologists who can work with them directly or provide strategies for caregivers to enhance their language proficiency and social interaction. Language. Piaget and Vygotsky have different views on private speech in early childhood. Piaget saw it as egocentric and immature, while Vygotsky viewed it as a valuable tool for thought. Both theorists agreed that full cognitive development relies on social interaction and language. Children need to use language to communicate with others before focusing on their own thoughts, highlighting the importance of interaction with caregivers in language development. Vygotsky introduced the concept of zone of proximal development or ZPD, which refers to tasks too challenging for a child to tackle alone but achievable with guidance from adults or more skilled peers. The ZPD represents the cognitive skills of preschoolers in the process of maturing and have both lower and upper limits. The lower limits is the child's independent cognitive development level, while the upper limit is the extent of additional responsibility the children can handle with the help of a capable instructor. This emphasizes the role of social support in enhancing cognitive development in preschoolers. Information processing model offers a way to understand children's cognitive development by likening their mental process to a computer's data processing. During preschool years, children exhibit longer attention spans compared to toddlers. However, they may struggle to focus on relevant aspects of a task, often favoring what stands out. Preschoolers can recall and reconstruct previously encountered information, showing improved memory. Short-term memory in preschoolers lasts for 15 to 30 seconds, with rehearsal extending this duration. Differences in memory span across ages results from rehearsal and processing speed, with older children rehearsing more. Long-term memory development begins between ages 2 and 5. Children also develop scripts for familiar situations, allowing them to predict and understand future events. Between ages 5 and 7, children learn to focus and use their cognitive abilities for specific purposes, such as memorizing information for school. As information processing speed increases in early childhood, Memory capacity also grows. Preschoolers' memory may seem erratic due to inadequate cues and prompts. Rehearsal and organized information are effective strategies but not commonly used by young children as their cognitive abilities continue to develop. Children's theory of mind. Theory of mind pertains to understanding how mental processes works. Children became aware of the existence of mind around ages 2 to 3, expressing needs and emotions. Cognitive terms like now, remember, and think emerge by age of 6. Children reflect on their thought processes and construct a theory of mind between ages 3 to 5. This development involves self-awareness, social cognition, understanding false belief description, distinguishing appearance from reality and fantasy from reality. Social experiences, including communication, imitation, make believe, play, language, and interaction, play a crucial role in the development of theory of mind. Preschoolers' language, receptive language, domain, cognitive development, higher ordered mental abilities, memory. Receptive language. The child is able to understand both verbal and nonverbal forms of communication. 31 to 36 months, 3 to 4 years old, speaks in simple sentences, talks about an event and is understood. 37 to 48 months, uses some prepositions, uses plurals, uses past tense, uses newly learned word appropriately in sentences, uses newly learned language appropriately when a group conversations. 49 to 60 months, 45 years old, draws and tells a story about his drawing. Reading and pre-math matching. The child is able to match identical objects, colors, shapes, symbols. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, matches identical objects with two attributes like color and shape, matches identical uppercase letters, matches identical lowercase letters. 37 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, copies simple patterns with two or more attributes like color, shape, sequence, and continues this without guidance, recognizes familiar logos like McDonald's, Coke, etc., recognizes signs like male and female restrooms, stop and go, danger, poison, etc., matches identical 2 to 4-letter words, matches identical single-digit numbers, matches identical 2-digit numbers. Reading and pre-math, copying letters and numbers, the child is able to recite the alphabet and numbers in sequence. 3 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, prints uppercase letters with a model with some reversals. 49 to 60 months, 4 to 6 years old, prints complete name without model. Prints uppercase letter with a model with no reversals, prints lower case letters with a model with some reversals. Prints numbers 1 to 5 with a model with some reversals. 61 to 71 months or 2 to 6 years old, prints uppercase letters without a model and with no reversals. Prints lowercase letters without a model and with no reversals. Prints numbers 1 to 5 without a model and with no reversals. Main cognitive development. The child is able to sustain attention and modulate his activity at age expected levels. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, complete simple task without prudling. 37 to 48 months, or 3 to 4 years old, may be distracted but refocuses on his/her own, remains settled while leafing through a picture book for 5 minutes, remains settled while listening to a story using picture book for 5 minutes, sustains attention and concentration on a tabletop activity for 10 minutes, can work on school assignment with minimal supervision. 49 to 60 months or 4 to 5 years old, sustain attention and concentration on a tabletop activity for 15 to 20 minutes, can work on school assignment with minimal supervision. 61 to 71 months, 5 to 6 years old, can work on a school assignment independently. Ordered mental abilities, concept information. The child developed basic concepts pertaining to objects constantly, spare time, quality, seriation, and etc. Uses this as the basis for understanding how materials are categorized in his or her environment. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old. Knows the difference between a recent event and one that happened a long time ago. Count with one-to-one correspondence. Understands concept of number quality relations from through 5. Group Groups objects by shape. Arranges objects by length. Arranges objects according to size. Can tell in a what way two things are the same. Can tell in what way two things are different. 37 to 48 months or 3 to 4 years old can tell which is prettier, nicer of two items based on his or her criteria. Groups pictured object to according to category. Can tell which is left and right on him or herself. Understand more and less. Understands the concept of conservation of matter at a rudimentary level. 49 to 60 months or 4 to 5 years old. Can tell which is the left and right of people facing him or her. Knows the difference between yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Understands the concept of number quality relations for 1 to 10 demonstrates concept of addition using finger of objects. Demonstrate concept of subtraction using fingers and objects. Higher ordered mental abilities, cause and effect relationship. The child is able to understand the cause-effect relationships. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, can complete a simple pattern like beads, picture shapes with occasional guidance. 37 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, understands reasons behind rules and practices in schools, understands reasons behind rules and practices in the community, like those pertaining to sanitation, environmental preservation, etc. Memory, episodic memory. The child is able to recall people he has met, events, and places he has been to. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, talks about things that happened during a particular event that occurred some time back. Memory for concept-based knowledge, semantic memory. The child is able to store verbal information in short and long-term memory. 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 years old, repeats 5 to 7 words correctly, memorize the lyrics of a short song, memorizes a short rhyme, remembers the gist and many details of stories told or read. 49 to 60 months, 4 to 5 years old, can recite the days of the week with some errors, remembers lesson learned in school even after several days have passed. 61 to 71 months, 5 to 6 years old, can recite the days of the week with no errors, can recite the months of the year with some errors. Higher ordered mental abilities, logical reasoning. The child is able to follow the logic of events, like reasons why this happens, and draw accurate conclusions while evaluating the facts presented to him. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, can complete a simple pattern. Reads picture shape with occasional guidance. 37 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, can tell what is silly or wrong with observed picture scenes, related experiences in sequence or as these happened. Can appreciate humorous stories or joke that his her peers also find funny. Knows that certain things are the same and therefore can be substitute to each other, like liquid and powdered detergent. Can state opposite relationship. Can give substantive reason why she likes something or not. Can argue to point stand logically. Can complete a simple pattern like beads picture shape without guidance. 49 to 60 months, 4 to 5 years old, knows that certain elements remains the same even if their position changes, like 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2 equals 5. Able to predict what will happen next in a story, can predict how a story will end halfway through. Higher ordered mental abilities, planning and organizing. The child is able to plan and organize a simple familiar activity. 31 to 36 months or 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, can plan how she will carry out an activity with adult guidance. Example, eating, household chores, and putting structure in activities. Has almost everything he/she needs before starting on activity. 37 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, can dress following an organized sequence, can bath following an organized sequence. 49 to 60 months, 4 to 5 years old, can plan how she will carry out an activity without adult guidance. Ordered mental abilities, creative thoughts. The child is able to generate new ideas or concepts or new associations between existing ideas or concepts. 31 to 36 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, pretend to be engaged in grown-up activities like playing office, pretend to be a character in a familiar story, creates new words or names for people or objects. 37 to 48 months, 3 to 4 years old, can make a pun or joke, creates some dance moves, creates lyrics of songs using familiar melody, pretends to be a character in his or her own made-up story, formulates rules to implement a game. 49 to 60 months, 4 to 5 years old, can draw things or scenes from experience but with no actual model or reference, from example from memory. 61 to 71 months, 5 to 6 years old, can draw or paint things that do not exist in real life like fantasy or imagination. Ordered mental abilities, cognitive flexibility. The child is able to shift to more adaptive cognitive processing strategies in order to effectively deal with new and unexpected conditions in his/her environment, including problem situations. 37 to 48 months, 2 to 1/2 to 3 years old, modifies action based on how experiences change block structure that follows. Explores alternative solutions to a problem and select one option. Is able to shift activities without much fuss. Is able to know when the topic of conversation has changed or adjust accordingly. The role of caregivers, parents, and teachers in the cognitive development of preschoolers. Parents and teachers have significant impact on the cognitive development of preschoolers. However, their well-intentioned efforts can sometimes be counterproductive if not appropriate. Some adults mistakenly believe that preschool should solely focus on preparing children for elementary school entrance exams, leading to unnecessary academic pressure and stress for preschoolers. This can result in a negative attribute toward school and learning. Caregivers should be mindful of the methods they employ to support preschoolers' cognitive skills. In the next slide are some appropriate practices that help develop the cognitive skills of preschoolers. For 3 years old, engage in frequent conversations with children using short sentences, asking questions, and actively listening. Expand upon children's sentences by adding new information to enrich their understanding. Teach children to memorize both first and last names. Provide access to books and read to them regularly, including poetry and nursery rhymes. Encourage discussion and repetition of stories. Foster an interest in reading and writing by involving children in everyday tasks like sharing a grocery list or notes for parents, and provide materials like paper, notebooks, and markers for creative play. Practice counting with tangible objects and involve children in measuring and counting activities such as following a recipe. Explain the reasons behind event and how things work. Utilizing reference books and engaging in simple science activities. Offer sets of toys and objects that go together, promoting discussions about similarities and differences. Encourage music and movement through singing, creating simple rhyme instruments, and playing musical games and dancing to various kinds of activity. For 4 years old, read aloud each day and encourage children to look at book on their own. Provide alternative reading materials with collection of outdated coupons, junk mail, newspaper ads, and old cereal boxes. Say nursery rhymes and finger plays together. Encourage 4-year-old to tell stories to younger children. Encourage interest in writing and words. Provide children with paper and notebooks for writing, print letters and numerals and artwork, and label toy shelves with picture and words that describe objects. Teach important number and space concepts, sort and count everything in sight, like silverware, socks, rocks, leaves, etc. Talk about things being in, under, behind, beside, before and after, larger than, too far, etc. Teach children the correct use of the telephone. Encourage 4-year-olds to help you plan and plant encourage 4-year-olds to help you plan and plant a garden. They will love to water plants daily and will enjoy measuring plant growth. For 5-year-olds, make reading sessions engaging by using different voices for characters and allowing children to create their own story endings. Encourage 5-year-olds to tell their own stories, either in writing or through recording and display or book or create. Encourage 5-year-olds to tell their own stories, either in writing or through recording and display or play books their creations. Stimulate creativity with what if questions, like imagining alternate scenarios in familiar stories. Invoice children in writing activities such as thank you notes or holiday cards and support their efforts to copy letters. Offer opportunities for sorting groups, counting, and sequencing in practical situations like setting the table or matching socks. Take children's questions seriously and provide appropriate explanations. Foster an interest in numbers by encouraging counting of various objects or situations. Remove Promote humor appreciation through humorous stories, riddles, and jokes. Include those from school books and TV. Encourage creative expression through dramatic movements such as mimicking natural phenomena or animals and engaging in creative activities.